It's time to get educated on your Second Amendment right. Welcome to 2 full hours of Gun Owners Radio. Your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz, will teach you about firearms, self-defense, and the laws that affect your rights to keep and bear arms. Visit GunOwnersRadio.com with questions to learn how to become a sponsor of Gun Owners Radio and get involved. Together, we will win. Now, here's your hosts, Dave Stahl, Joe Dramisi, and Michael Schwartz on The Answer San Diego.
All right, folks, welcome to Gun Owners Radio, FM 96.1, AM 1170.
The Answer.
Hey, folks, do you feel safe? Are you protected? Well, you know, it's time to take ownership of your self-defense journey. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association believes the key ingredient to being a responsible firearm owner is proper training and education. The USCCA offers comprehensive training that helps you avoid danger while keeping you and your loved ones safe. More than 650,000 responsibly armed Americans like you have made the responsible decision to take control of protection themselves and their families. Get hands-on training from certified instructors. Learn how to avoid danger, defend yourself, protect your loved ones. Take responsibility for your own safety. Visit uscca.com/GOR.
Nice. I want to kick off the show with a happy birthday.
Who to?
One of our San Diego County Gun Owners members is having her birthday today, and I believe she's listening, so I wanted to say happy birthday to Chrissy Bailey. Happy birthday, Chrissy. You're, I believe you're 21, so you're going to have your first legal drink today.
Right.
Congratulations.
And your present is in the mail.
Exactly. Right next to the check.
Exactly.
So what's up, gentlemen?
Well, it's been a quiet week.
Yeah?
You know,
We just had two
couple
shooting
fist
socials.
bumps, nothing major.
Yeah, we just had two shooting socials. We had one Saturday. We had one this morning.
Yeah.
Teaching people how to shoot. A lot of mentors.
What are you shooting?
It was all pistol, 9mm. Our shooting socials are for people who've never shot before or have very little experience. It's a first-time shooting experience. We pair them up with experienced volunteers, and they teach them how to shoot for the first time.
How do they get on the list?
Go to our website, sdcgo.org, and look at the shooting social section. And for $60, you can come to a shooting social, and everything's included. All you do is show up with a pair of sensible shoes and a high-neck shirt and a smile.
Why would you want a high-neck shirt?
Yeah, you don't even need the high-neck shirt.
Come on.
Well, the high-neck shirt
Let's break them in.
Yeah, really. The high-neck shirt is, of course, to prevent hot brass from going down your shirt.
Right.
That's never fun.
That's why Mike wears a T-shirt, a shirt, and another shirt.
That's right. All kinds of stuff.
They'll need to start the forest fire.
But it was great. We had a couple people that came and mentored at both. Rick and Steve and Mark Savitsky were mentors both Saturday and Sunday. I hope I didn't forget anybody, but man, I cannot thank mentors. If you're listening, I can't thank you guys enough. This program is so successful, and it's because of you guys. You guys are all awesome, so thank you so much.
I didn't realize it's only $60.
$60.
How much time does that eat up?
It's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Most of that is on the range. They get a safety briefing. We provide the gun. We provide the ammo. We provide the eye and ear protection. The target. It's honestly cheaper than just walking in off the street and renting a gun and getting a lane and
not know what the hell you're doing.
Where were they this weekend? Where'd you do them?
Saturday was Discount Gun Mart on Moreno over by SeaWorld. And then Sunday, this morning, was Poway Weapons and Gear. Both beautiful ranges, fantastic ranges. And then last weekend was at the Gun Range San Diego.
You guys usually open up a little early and get there ahead of the crowd, or?
Well, there's no crowd. They don't open up. None of those places open until 10. They open up early for us.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
So you actually have the place all to yourself.
That's right. We got run of the place, 8 to 10. It's all us.
So nobody's pressuring you. No one's trying to get in your lane.
No, your job is to come, have fun, be safe,
$60,
smile, all kinds of cool stuff.
Do they have to join?
Nope, don't have to join to be a member. Just have to come and have a good time. So, did you see that they signed the law to in California to that allows victims of crime to sue gun manufacturers?
Yeah, but that didn't go to vote, did it?
It got signed into law.
Nothing goes to vote.
It went through the legislature and it got signed into law.
So it's into law now.
Yeah, it's active. It's ridiculous, though.
Haven't we gone through this before? I mean, not in California, but haven't other places tried this and this does not work?
You know, a couple of years ago, at our dinner, we gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Robert Wright. He's a local attorney, and he was a big part back in the 90s of a case that basically said, no, you can't do this. You know, they keep talking about guns. You can't do this with any industry. It's not just guns. They keep pretending that guns have some kind of special magic,
Right.
Protection. There's not a single industry out there. If you take any industry, you take the silverware industry to court because you cut yourself with a butter knife or whatever, you're getting thrown out of court. It's ridiculous across the board. So it's cute that they passed this little law, Gavin Newsom and his ridiculousness, but this is going to get, a bunch of attorneys are going to make a bunch of money defending and getting rid of this, but that's it.
Well, what if it gets kicked out frivolous, first 2-3 times?
Well, the law's got to get overturned. And the only way there's only two ways to do that. You vote the right people into office. We're pretty far away from that in California. Mm-hmm. And two, it gets struck down in court. So it'll get struck down in court. It'll work its way up and get struck down in court.
But he was pretty happy about it.
Oh, he's thrilled.
He is.
He's thrilled.
Well, it's interesting too. With the Supreme Court decision recently, is that you would think that would give the Second Amendment people a little more firepower when they challenge this kind of law here, when they go argue it. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be harder for the state to justify that now in light of the Supreme Court ruling?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And you're seeing like these desperate grasps. The Heller decision was great. The McDonald decision was great. But this Bruen decision is enormous.
Well, see, and that's what I'm thinking is the big value of the Bruen decision is the idea, what Clarence Thomas said about that, how they can't do the balancing argument anymore, that the argument now from the state against our rights is going to have to be based on what? Historical precedents, the text of the actual documents, and tradition, I think is how he said it, right?
Well, they're panicking.
Text, history, and tradition. They are.
That's all it is. And the closer they get to the midterms, and they know there's a chance they're not going to be able to do this again.
Well, and there's speculation that old Gavin wants to run for president.
Well, of course he does.
Well, it'll be the smart move now. I mean, for him.
Didn't you see him at the White House walking the grounds?
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
Was he kind of testing the place? He was feeling the couch.
Seriously,
Like,
went in the back door, and people were following him around, but he was doing it like a little kid that got in the back room of a museum. That's what it reminded me of. I'm watching him. I'm going, what the heck is he doing?
Well, I said it back during the, it was unfortunate that recall was such a clobbering because it would have been better. It's better that recall better for people that don't like Gavin, it's better that recall never happened than for him to successfully beat it, because that gave him even more political power. And that's unfortunately what happened. And, just can't cry over spilt milk. And I'm not saying that they never should have done the recall, but this is a consequence of losing that recall. They say elections have consequences, and this is one.
By the way, you don't know our board op tonight.
I do know him.
Do you know Noah?
Yeah. Well,
what's up, gentlemen?
How you doing,
Noah
man?
is
I'm doing well.
cream of the crop when it comes to board ops.
Well,
how
he's
long
got
you been here?
Since the vintage dirt here in the studios that's hanging around, I've been there that long.
Well, listen, I think Noah's great, and I am familiar with him, but you get some big shoes to fill with Brendan.
Oh.
I mean, Brendan's,
Brendan is legendary.
Yes.
I'm a myth.
Ethan Jones from Weaponry Training and Tactics up next.
But if you have legal matters that involve firearms, that you need to call a California firearms lawyer, John Dillon, especially if your questions are regarding red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant. Call our trusted firearms attorney, John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Call 760-642-7150, or you can go right straight to his website at DillonLawGP.com.
Last December, the Inland Empire Gun Owners had their Christmas party at Fascination Ranch, which is a really cool venue. If you've never been there, I think it's right on the border of Riverside and San Bernardino. I'm not actually sure which county it's in. I think it's actually officially in Riverside, but it's a beautiful little venue. And I got to meet a really cool guy named Ethan, and I was particularly impressed because, we did a little raffle like we usually do at these events. And an adorable little girl helped us pick winners, and that was Ethan's daughter. And she was a fantastic assistant, and Ethan was extremely interesting to talk to. So we're having him on to talk. Ethan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you, gentlemen, for having me.
You bet. So tell everybody about Weaponry Training and Tactics. What do you guys do?
So I'm a primarily owner myself. I'm the lead instructor of the company. And I primarily like to focus on safety and fundamental basics of firearm training with individuals. So I started doing a lot of stuff here with new shooters and first-time gun owners and just trying to get them more comfortable and responsible with their firearms.
Nice. What was the catalyst? What made you do it?
Well, other than the good old pandemic here that happened and realizing that, kind of the world and crazy stuff happening out there, you kind of have to be the only one to protect yourself and your family. So I went ahead and started this company and said, hey, let's go ahead and make myself a little bit more responsible with firearms as well as the people around me. So
that's awesome. What have you found out about people when now that you've had some bunch of time under your belt working with students professionally day in, day out? What has that told you about? What have you discovered about people? What have you discovered about gun owners?
One of the biggest things that I've actually discovered is a lot of people are interested in firearms, but unfortunately are not properly educated or properly informed about our industry. Unfortunately, a lot of people still hear and go by what they see on the news and don't really want to talk to actually professionals or people involved in the industry until we actually kind of get the opportunity to bring them into our circle and show them the true facts behind what we have to offer.
Well, all the stupid gun laws that we have in California really has all but destroyed the culture.
It certainly has.
Yeah, you look at other states, you talk to people that, grow up in other states, and you can't make it to adulthood without, someone pulling you aside and teaching you gun safety and proficiency. And all the bias and all the stupid laws in California have made it, I don't know how many times, you meet somebody, they make it to 40, 50 years old, and they've never touched a gun before. And I think that
100%.
makes for a really unique educational environment, wouldn't you say?
It really does. I mean, just like you said, for some people more in the Midwest and other places in the country, it's more of a way of life. It's actually an upraising. Like you said, when you reach a certain age, it's almost a milestone to be handed your first firearm and taught the proper ways and the proper safety of using that firearm. And for a lot of people, it's actually the way of providing meat and providing safety for your family. So it is very weird and very odd that politicians and certain gun laws here in California make it very difficult. But like you said, it is very awesome, very interesting on the optimistic side of it to actually get that opportunity to bring these people in and teach a lot of people the truth and the stuff that's not misleading. And
you're in Riverside County, right?
I am in Riverside County, yeah. I'm primarily located out here in the Palm Springs area, but I travel all over Southern California to help out with clients.
So, a few years ago, you guys had a new sheriff in town, Chad Bianco, who's truly, sincerely one of my favorite, if not my favorite elected official that I've ever met. I just think the guy is so outstanding. I know him a little bit personally, but mostly just from what he does professionally, and I just think he's an outstanding individual. I think he strikes a great balance, and is great at communication, and he just does his job. I just think he's fantastic. Can't say enough good. But one of the things he did is he really fixed the CCW issues that were going on, and I think you guys have 3, 4, 5 times as many CCWs issued in Riverside as was issued when he started. Have you noticed? What has that done? What has that done for your students? What has that done for the culture? Have you noticed a big difference in Riverside because of it?
I have. I've noticed an influx in a lot of clientele. Unfortunately, I do like to keep my stuff very small and private. I do like to make it very personal with me and my students. I feel like when you start to get, and it's just my opinion on this, but when you start to get the big crowds and it's just myself here as an instructor, you kind of lose that one-on-one individuality. So I like to keep it very small and get that personality with the students and get them to understand what actually they need to learn as far as the foundations of firearms. But with Chad Bianco going on right now, yes, there's been an influx as far as for applicants, and to see what they're doing as far as it and actually handling it very positively and professionally has been awesome.
I think the guy's great, really do. Just can't say enough good. Is there anything, like what would you say makes you unique or different? Is there anything that you're particularly fond of about your company and the way you teach that makes you a little different, or something that you just like to emphasize?
So I just touched on it a little bit. Is I like to keep my classes very small, and I do keep it very private oriented. I want to make sure that the students are actually picking up what I'm putting down, kind of speak, and I want to make sure that everything's being, poorly to say, but regurgitated back to me properly. I want to make sure that everything that's being told about the safety foundation, the responsibility foundation, understanding the gear that goes behind having a proper firearm concealed. I want to really make sure that they have a proper understanding of that. And like I said, when I feel like there's a lot of people in the class, some people take it, some people don't, and I want to make sure that people are actually getting what their money's worth and wanting to actually continue to do this.
That's cool, man. That's very, very cool. It sounds like it sounds like you really have a good solid base and are really close with your students.
I try to, man, and I really want to make sure that they're understanding that everybody's different, everybody's built different, their hands are different, and because of that, I also try and do a little bit of firearm consulting behind that and make sure that the firearm actually fits the individual properly, and not just, one, sell you a firearm or put a firearm in your hand that, one, you're not going to be comfortable with, or two, it's not going to fit you and your firearm style.
Now, you don't have to use names or anything, but is there a way? Do you have a particular story that you're most proud of? Is there a student or an experience or something that happened that you're, a story you can tell us that you're particularly proud of?
I mean, I've taken a couple students out there that have had a very, very negative output or a very negative look on firearms. They were just raised very anti-firearms, very anti-gun ownership, and they wanted to take one of my basic safety courses. I brought them into the class, and I really made sure to break it down to them on a very intellectual level and that they can understand it. And after actually putting firearms in their hands, showing them the basics and the understandings of grip, sight picture, sight alignment, trigger control, and really breaking it down to them, and actually putting live fire firearms in their hand and getting them to a range, it really changed their perspective on firearms. And like they told me, is they just really needed an instructor and somebody to break it down to them, to give them that actual intellectual properties to understand what firearms are.
That's awesome. There's, I think the typical gun owner, especially, folks that are maybe listening to a gun radio show, have probably taken a little bit of training. They've owned guns for a while. They've taken a little bit of training. What would you say people in that position, people that have owned a gun for, at least 5 years, they've taken at least one or two classes, they're somewhat proficient, they take it very seriously. What would you say they're messing up? What's the one thing that you wish, you wish you could teach more people, or what message would you like to get to that gun owner more?
The biggest thing that I would want to push on that is just understanding or changing your mindset. I have a lot of people that feel like they can get their gun, they get a CCW license, they take one or two classes, and they feel like they're proficient and they can go take on the world. Unfortunately, I feel like firearm fundamentals and skills is not like riding a bike. It's very diminishing skills. So I feel like if you don't stay up on it, you don't continuously practice, you're going to be very surprised when you actually go to use that firearm, where your skill set's actually going to lie. So I look at this almost like a PhD, like a doctorate. You're going to continuously keep learning, continuously keep training throughout your whole lifestyle with firearms.
That's awesome, man. Very cool. I think your school and what you're doing is really great. I think the way you're approaching it is fantastic. It definitely feels like when I first started purchasing firearms in the 90s and looking at classes, things have changed a lot in the last 25 years. It really has turned from a kind of a good old boys club, that was very militant, in as far as training. Everything was kind of drill instructor-y. And it's turned into a far more helpful, inclusive, practical industry. I don't know. Does that make sense? And what I say, do you agree? Do you see it that way too?
You're 100% right. Yeah, the industry is evolving. I look at it, everything's evolving just as fast as iPhones nowadays. The firearms industry evolves just as fast as technology. Even with just the firearm development, the ballistics of ammunition, everything is continuously changing. So I feel like not just with training on the use of the firearm, but I feel like just individual or just training within the industry in general, it's continuously changing and changing rapidly.
Are you in California?
I am.
He's in Riverside.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I'm here in Palm Springs area, but like I said, I'm in Riverside County. I travel all over Southern
The only
California.
reason I said it is because he was saying how great your gun technology you got. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, we only got 6 guns in California.
I know.
How
Yeah,
could there be?
and that's what makes it difficult for us here as
Yeah,
well. I mean, we
very much.
have this very tough list, and even though we hear all this wonderful stuff being passed in
Yeah.
Florida, we unfortunately here in California still have our hands tied, and we're waiting on what our good old dictator here is going to do for us.
So what do you? So I mean, as far as the roster goes, what are the options? We actually, what we'll do is we'll talk about it on the other side of the commercial break. But we've talked about this a couple of times, and I wanted to see, name off the options when we get back. Name off the options for a true concealed carry gun. I mean, I think everybody, a Glock 19, most people can carry it. But what are your options? What do you like, or what do you recommend when it comes to like a true carry gun, something that's truly subcompact or truly concealable by just about anybody?
For a guy and a girl?
Guy and a girl, yeah. I mean, honestly, I think he's only going to come up with the same 3 or 4 that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. But I just want to see what your input is on that. But not yet. Let's go to the commercial break.
Sure, let's do that.
Yeah, let's go to a commercial break and do that. You probably already have them in mind. You probably already know.
Well, like you said, there's only 3. Yeah. Hey, do you have trouble fitting in workouts with your busy schedule? Well, hey, man, you got to try Leo Fit. Leo Fit is a super high-tech gym that delivers the benefits of 3 to 6 hours of traditional strength training in just 2 20-minute sessions a week. That's right. Sounds hard to believe, but because the machines are computer controlled, they deliver maximum weight you can safely handle by the second. That's how you get the highest possible return of your fitness investments and time. Just go talk to Leo. He'll tell you all about it. It was founded by Leo Hamill of the jewelry store fame. Leo Fit guarantees increased metabolic, I can never say that word, strength and fitness in every session. You will not understand how effective it is until you try it. 20 minutes, you can do that. Twice a week replaces an hour of weightlifting and aerobics. Sign up on the website at leofitlabs.com or type LeoFit in your browser for more information. Sign up for a free session and tell them you heard it right here on Gun Owners Radio.
One of our listeners already ran into him. He went down there and signed up, and so at least one of our listeners is already down there working.
Yeah, you were there with him.
I was. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so we were just talking to Ethan Jones from Weaponry up in the Palm Springs area, up in Riverside, and we asked what are some true concealed carry options.
So, Mike, you actually hit it right on the head before the break there. My go-to is the Glock 19, so that's my everyday carry.
Yeah.
Kind of get made fun of it for carrying a good old plastic gun, but hey, it is what it is. Second option I would throw out there for people is, again, the Smith & Wesson Shield, the MMP. Just depends on the body size as well as the hand size. Is going to fit the firearm dependably. Then the next option I like to throw out there, I'm not a big fan of revolvers personally, but I still like to throw that option out there, especially for women or people with smaller hands. The Smith & Wesson, the Lady Smith or the Airweight. And I also like to throw the Glock 26 out there. So it just depends on the individual, what your attire is, what your job is, stuff like that. Kind of like to dress around the gun accordingly.
Hey, Ethan, I have a question for you concerning the revolvers. Because we did a Women on Target last week over at the Lemon Grove Rod and Gun Club. And we had a woman that came, and she had a revolver, and she said, she can't shoot it. She has trouble with it, with her finger strength, with pulling the trigger with the double-action revolver. And it was interesting because this one was a little bit unique because she had the same problem with the semi-autos as well. But have you run into that with, recommending revolvers with women and having trouble with, with the double-action trigger?
I most certainly have, and that's personally one of the reasons why I don't like to steer people towards revolvers. Nothing against revolvers and their operations. They do their purpose, what they're used for. But for concealed carry purposes, I try and steer away from that due to that double action trigger pull. Same with like certain CZs or certain Berettas. I'm very big on consistent trigger pulls and consistency in general. So I like from trigger pull 1 to 10 to be as thorough as possible.
So it's really, truly, of course we have the Rena case, which is against the roster, but I mean, I can't think of a more clear example of infringing on someone's right to bear than prohibiting all the firearms that they would normally use to carry, unless they have technology that doesn't exist, which is exactly what this roster does. And I think it's pretty clear that it inhibits your ability to do your job. It inhibits your students' ability to protect themselves. I mean, it's really horrible.
It does. And in my opinion, it also, in a sense, kind of makes it a little bit, I don't want to say less safe, but it makes it a little bit more difficult for people to actually become familiar with firearms because either one, the slides are a little too difficult to reciprocate. The trigger pulls are a little bit too hard to pull for individuals. So there's a lot of newer firearms out there that unfortunately are not acceptable here to California due to our roster issue that would actually alleviate a lot of those problems for students here in California.
Now, you're a member, you like I said at the top of the interview, you came to the Inland Empire Gun Owners Christmas party. And I know you're fairly active with them, and can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and thank you so much. What's important to you about groups like Inland Empire Gun Owners?
Just the fact that, like I said, being at your guys' events and that they are open to the public, I really do appreciate that, and that they actually are very transparent with everything that's going on. And you guys actually do keep people informed of what's going on, not just with legislation coming down from the state itself, but also at a more current and city level and county level. I think personally that's very big and very informational to a lot of people around us because nobody really understands that point.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of city councils, and people I don't think, fully realize just how much authority a city council has over your life, your everyday life,
And the more people that actually get together, just like IEGO and SDGO, I mean, the more people that we can get congregated on that and actually show that the people actually have a voice, you'll see actually what can actually happen when we actually come together and voice our opinion together.
There you go. So what's your background? How did you get into all this?
So I've been shooting guns since I was about 5 or 6. My grandfather got me into this at a very young age, and he's kind of one of those old school guys that taught me, hey, if you want to be able to protect yourself one day, you got to be able to learn how to use this properly. So I started at a very young age. I'm actually passing that on to my daughter as we speak now, but unfortunately I hear this new law coming on that we can't teach kids now, so I don't know what we can and can't do as far as that now. But I've just been around guns my whole life. In high school, I took a protective service academy to teach me in regards to law enforcement, EMT, and firefighting skills. So I have a very basic understanding about all of that. And I really love my freedoms. I love my 2A rights, and I want to do my best to kind of conserve them and pass them on to the generations that come.
Did you? How you said you're in the kind of the Palm Springs area? Are you originally from Riverside, or what brought you to that section of California?
I was actually born in the high desert and then grew up in Fontana. So grew up in San Bernardino County, and then moved out here to the Palm Springs area. Just relocated out here for work, and then started my own business. That's
awesome, man. So local guy. Very cool.
Yeah. Born and raised in California, and don't plan on leaving unless things don't change.
No, we're gonna stay and fight.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you kind of go against what I was saying, that California has successfully stripped away the gun culture. Here you are, you grew up using firearms. You're a local guy right in the Inland Empire area, and now you're teaching others. So you're the exception, man, which is very, very cool. Thank you for doing what you're doing.
Not a problem, man. Like I said, I appreciate the opportunity, and I continuously want to keep reaching out myself and helping out anybody I can and anybody in this industry to, like I said, keep fighting for these rights.
Well, I think when we do it the way you're doing it, it's eventually going to happen. I mean, if you have enough people that have the same mindset you have, it's eventually going to flip. It just has to.
You're 100% right. And I mean, unfortunately, or I should say fortunately, there's a lot of people right now that weren't like-minded like we are that have actually been flipping their mindset and kind of seeing a lot of stuff that's actually been happening with their own eyes without having to be influenced in any way. And they're actually starting to wake up and see the reality. So I think the game might be over here soon, and we might actually be able to stand on our feet again.
You can only lie so long.
So, hey, Ethan, I have a question for you. Do you do a lot of work with youth programs and younger students? Because you mentioned a minute ago that the latest goofy law from Newsom And I know we've seen examples now that it's having kind of a chilling effect. A lot of people that we've seen a couple of youth programs canceled already because of this stuff. I was just wondering, do you do anything with kids and that kind of teaching or those kind of programs?
I do. Unfortunately, I am still trying to make sure I'm on the legal side of everything due to what Newsom is trying to play right now, and I don't want to get caught up in any type of bad juju with that right now. But I do like to teach younger kids. I had actually a little event that I was doing from 6 to 16. As long as they were properly supervised and signed a waiver with their parents, I would definitely go ahead and teach them small caliber firearms, pistol and rifle, and kind of get them familiar and understanding of firearm safeties and fundamentals.
If anyone's listening and you have questions about the law that everybody's talking about here, if you want to know, and Ethan, you as well, if you want to know if your advertising or your flyer or whatever complies with California's new ridiculous law that will get struck down eventually, email us. If you're in Inland Empire, email Inland Empire Gun Owners. If you're in Orange, email Orange. If you're in San Diego, email San Diego County Gunners. Just go to our website, say, hey, here's our flyer. Maybe you're a club, maybe you're a business, whatever. Here's the flyer, here's the advertising, whatever it is, and we'll take a look at it for you. There are ways to comply with this law and make sure that your kids' programs, can keep going. So I think some folks are overreacting, and that's understandable. I get it. California is frankly a big, horrible bully, and that's not, I don't mean to be funny. They really, truly are as adversarial as it gets when it comes to gun owners. So I totally get it. But just don't give up, people. If we're offering this, take us up on it. Don't go canceling programs and whatnot for kids. Take us up on that. So, Ethan, if you know anybody, if you know any orgs, if you know any other colleagues or whatever that have a kids program and they're worried about advertising, they're worried about running afoul of the law, please have them contact us. Okay?
Yeah, I most certainly will. I mean, the one thing that I've done personally is I just stopped charging for the class, and it's more on a donation base. It's a free event, so if people want to come out and have that event with their students, it's more of what I like to call a parent-student day. Trying to come out here with your kid, you guys can both learn together, and the donations are accepted as far as for paying for range and time fees and ammo, stuff like that, but it's a nonprofit event in a sense.
Cool, man. What's your website?
You can actually find me at www.weaponri.com, and that's weaponry with an I. And I'm also on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, you name it.
So weapon, WEAPONRI, right? Weaponry?
Correct.
Okay, cool. There's a little spelling test that I almost failed. Little test I gave myself, Dave, and then almost failed.
I know, I was worried. But you pulled it out.
A lot of people have been asking me regarding the spelling and the RIs because everything comes down to the responsibility of the individual. So
nice. I like that.
Nice. Yeah. All right, that's
cool.
good to know.
Hey, Joe, is that safe to eat?
No, this safe is for securing your handgun while you are on the go.
Mic drop. Close enough.
Hey, do you ever wish cleaning your gun was easier? Well, you can clean, lube, and protect your gun with Seal One. Seal One CLP Plus is natural, non-toxic, and environmentally friendly. Clean your guns easier, faster. You'll also smell better, too. Something that the wise will always appreciate. One and done with Seal One. Ask for it by name at your local gun shop or get some on the website, seal1.com. That's seal1, the number 1.com. All right, Joe, tell us about Tuffy.
Okay, so what we have is another product here from Tuffy Security Products. You might remember, I think it was probably a couple of months ago, we reviewed a storage box, a lock box that goes that fits under the back seat of an F-150. And, I was taking a look at that, and that was just a fantastic product from Tuffy. It's built solid. It's solid as a tank. It was really easy to install, and it works just great. So what they have here is a kind of a smaller, not another smaller version of that, but just another product from Tuffy Security Products. And what this is their universal valuable safe is what they call this product. And you can use this, again, as for all valuables, I suppose, universal valuable safe. You could also use it for firearms, and it comes in 2 pieces here. You can see this. You have a frame that the actual safe fits into, and the frame would be mounted. You could mount this in a vehicle. You could mount this in your home somewhere, in an office, wherever you needed this kind of storage. Again, really solid steel. I couldn't see the on the website. I didn't see the gauge of the steel, but I mean it's really beefy. It's all welded steel. You could also buy extra these things for another $69. You can buy another sleeve for it. So you could have the one safe. You could have several different places that you mount it. You could slide the thing out and move it around to different locations, or if you have different vehicles or something like that you want to use. So we've got the frame that it mounts in, and then the actual storage safe itself. And the version I've got here has a combination lock on here, and you can change the combination pretty easily on it. You could also get this with a key lock, so it doesn't have to come with a combination lock. And if you open this up, you can see the inside of this, and it's all padded with kind of a carpet material in here. And the way the lock works is when you shut this up and slide it into the sleeve wherever you have it mounted, when you operate the lock secures it into the sleeve, so it's in there. You can also pull this out of the sleeve, and you could keep it locked when you're transporting it if you want to do that with it. So it works pretty well. It's, like I said, they call it a universal valuables safe. So it's intended, for different uses. And in terms of firearms, I tried a couple of firearms in here, and I've got a full-size 1911, which fits in here perfectly. I also have a Glock 34, which is the full-size Glock. It's a little bit longer. I guess the 17 is the official full-size Glock. Yeah. The 34 is about 0.8 of an inch longer, the slide assembly. And that would have fit in here perfectly. I've got a red dot sight on top of mine, so it just is a little bit too big to fit that.
Show off.
But like my carry gun, my Glock 19 would fit in here just fine, even with the red dot that I'm in the process of putting on the Glock 19. So depends on the kinds of firearms you have. I did try I've got a Ruger GP100 revolver. That was a little bit too big for this one. So it just depends. But this will hold most of your guns, especially a concealed carry type gun. And which is nice because mounting this in the car, this is a good option for, again, if you have to, if you're going someplace where you can't bring the gun in that you're carrying and you've got to leave it in the car, this is a great option to lock it up like this. The other thing I noticed, too, with just an aside from Tuffy, again, their products, I've got direct experience now with 2 of their products, and they're both just solid. This one and the other one I've got for the F-150. They also make console-type boxes that are very similar, that are designed specifically for your console. Same idea. I haven't seen one of those, but I'm assuming it's really bulletproof, just like this one is. So these things list for $219, which again I think is pretty reasonable for what you're getting here.
It's not bad.
Yeah, and you can buy it directly from them. They have a number of distributors in Southern California also where you can go in and take a look at this and pick it up. You can also have they have the options. This is how the one that I got came, and this will work fine again with a firearm. Like I said, what was I going to say? The 1911 fit in here perfectly. I mean, it was just perfect. It's not going to move around or go anywhere at all. The entire inside is padded with this carpet, so even if it did move around, it's not really going to hurt anything. You can get what they call their pick and pluck foam, which is the foam that's already cut, and you just pick out the size. So you could customize it, I guess, for whatever you want to put in here, be it guns or other kinds of valuables. So that's an option with it. It does come with a lifetime warranty for manufacturing and materials. And like I said, this thing is pretty solid. I think you install this someplace and it's going to be just fine. So let's see what else I want to talk about. The powder coat finish on here. So we have that. And I said you can get an extra mounting frame for it for $69.
So that, can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes,
okay,
please.
So that mounting frame that's close to me, that's what you screw into the vehicle.
So yes, and it comes with the mounting hardware. So again, depending on what you're mounting it to, I suppose you can mount it that way. You can go through the floor, I suppose, if you wanted to mount it like this. Just depends on, how you want to do it. You could also use this in the home as well. I mean, it doesn't have to be in the vehicle. It'll work in vehicles. It'll work wherever you want to mount it.
So you put that mount in wherever, home vehicle, and then you slide the actual safe in?
Right. So,
or does it act like a drawer?
So if this is mounted in the vehicle,
okay,
this would slide in here.
Okay. And how does it, go ahead.
So once you lock it, it latches it in here. So now it's secure in here. You would use the combination lock to unlock it, and you could pull it back out of here, and then you could just switch it back and lock it again. So you can carry this around in a locked condition.
I see.
Or not.
But you can't open it in the carrier.
No, when it's in here, you're going to have to pull it out. You're going to have to slide it out because the door here is on this side. So whoops. So this is what opens. So if you had it installed, it's going in there like that.
Right. And they actually put the door on the bottom side, which makes it even more difficult to get into.
Yeah, this is really secure. And this is the same thing I noticed with their other one, the under seat version that I had for the F-150. It would be really difficult to get into that one. I mean, obviously, if you had some time and some tools, you could. This one, I think, would be even harder. I mean, there's really no way to get into this, to pry this thing out. I mean, it would be really tough for somebody to break into this.
But you could mount that under a seat, right?
You could, yes.
Right.
Any place, you've got this 4-hole pattern.
Let's say you had a 2000 Jeep.
Yeah, black.
That's black.
Lifted.
In the parking lot right now, could we?
As long as you had the space, this thing, the exterior is 3 inches high. So if you've got 3 inches under your seat,
we can put some 2x4s underneath your rails.
That'll be classy.
Yeah, it's 9 inches. It's 9 by 10 by 3.
9 by 10 by 3. Okay.
Does it say what it was designed
So if you've got that
for?
space under there, and again, there's a 4-hole pattern here, so there's nothing stopping you from making a bracket, say, that fits this. Say you've only got a crossbar or something to mount to. I mean, you could always make a little bracket as long as you have the room to
Joe
do it.
can do that for you.
Yeah, and it's you said it's in the title. It's called universal, so it's not just for guns.
No. It's they say universal valuables, so it works perfectly for some guns, like I was saying, but for most guns probably, especially. If you're going to carry it, if you're installing this in the vehicle, then and you're using it for firearms, then it's going to be probably for your carry gun. I mean, that's what you're doing with it.
Right.
So most carry guns would fit in there easily with no problem at all. I mean, if I could put a 1911 in there, that's going to cover pretty much anything that most people would carry.
That's cool, man. And I like the mechanical lock too. Having to futz around with a key, not always the best thing in the world. And I hate electronics. I don't trust electronics at all. So that mechanical lock, where it's I don't even know how. Am I saying that? Is that what it's called? A mechanical lock?
That's what they is that what they call it? Yeah, they call it a combo lock. But yeah, I would call it a mechanical lock because that was the one thing I was looking at when I first opened this. I was thinking, okay, this is because it's not. I'm looking at it. Okay, this is kind of a plastic kind of lock or something. But once I got it out and took a look at it, it's really pretty solid.
Yeah.
This thing's not going anywhere at all. It's going to last.
And they don't fail. Those things don't fail. It's not like those mechanical locks, they don't fail. It's not like you need batteries or whatever.
Yeah, the other thing, too, I'm noticing, like my keychain's starting to get pretty crowded now. My Bill DC just handed me another one the other day. So it's like not picking up. Yeah, really, that's what it's starting to get like. Not picking up another key is probably a good thing here for this. So yeah, it looks like a great product. Again, reasonable price at $219. That's the price on their website. If you look for locators, dealer locators on there, or they have a dealer locator.
Yeah, but isn't there a discount code?
I don't know, Rich.
Says right there on the paper.
Where does it say that? Oh, we do have a discount code. All right. Well, this is the thing that I didn't get, though, today, So actually, I did get it.
It's been laying there.
So I can't look at everything. So we do have a discount code. It's Tuffy, GOR. We'll get you 20% off on this particular thing. It's a minimum $75 value. So good. So we do have a discount code. Outstanding. And like I said, this looks like a great, just a great product. I really
come in different colors.
No, I saw black powder coated, and that was what I saw on the website.
Any color you want, as long as it's black.
Henry Ford.
There you go. And again, that's tuffyproducts.com is the website. and Dave was out of the room for the lifetime warranty.
Wow.
So,
Yeah, well, it looks like it's
parts and
lifetime.
manufacturing. Yeah, this thing's going to be solid. I mean, there were some conditions and things, but for the most part, it's going to work the way it's supposed to work. And this thing is a tank, so once you install it someplace, nothing's going to happen to this.
And Tuffy's, they're not. It's not like that's some fly by night. I mean, Tuffy's been around for forever. They make some really good stuff.
Right. That's their expertise. Looks good.
Awesome.
All right, so we got it.
So what'd you get at Amazon?
Did I get it from what?
I mean, how'd you get it?
You got it from Rich.
Yeah, I got it from Rich. I got it right from Tuffy.
Okay. Oh, it's about time. I'm impressed. God, make my day. All right. So then what we're going to have to do is find somebody that we can put it in a Jeep.
Yeah.
And then
we found somebody.
And then test it.
I'll test it.
You going to test it? See, look at that. You already figured out how to open it.
In New York City, a 61-year-old man was assaulted behind the counter of the bodega in which he worked. The man defended himself with a knife, killing the assailant, and was subsequently arrested and charged with murder. At what point does self-defense become murder? Next with Joe.
But first, a lot of companies are so frustrated with their websites. It looks old, it's out of date, it's not getting customers. Well, Sage Tree gets it. Since 2005, Sage Tree has been helping companies with websites that look great, work great, and get leads. Stop being frustrated by your website and get one that you're proud to share. Contact Sage Tree today to get a website that makes the phones ring. Getting started is real easy. Call 866-728-9100. That's 866-728-9100, and they will fix your website.
Or your wagon, whichever comes first.
The wagon.
So Joe wrote a fantastic article, Self-Defense in New York City. Joe, what'd you learn?
Did you go back for research?
Go back for research?
Sure.
No,
Back
I would
to New York?
Never go to New York City, but I could research from out here. So no, it's interesting. Self-defense in the Big Apple. I came across this. Actually, I saw this. I believe I saw this on John Correa's active self-protection site. I think I was watching the video there, and then I kind of looked it up and went a little bit further with it. And again, is there anybody that hasn't heard of John Correa? If there's anybody out there listening, if you have not looked at John Correa's active self-protection, I recommend, like all my students, look at that. It's some of the best education you can get out there in terms of defense and concealed carry and that kind of stuff. And what John does, if you're not familiar with it, is John will show you an actual crime video. He posts one every day. And he breaks them down, he analyzes them, and it's just very educational. He does a great job with it. And I was taking a look on there because I try to look at John's thing every day, and he had this video on there of this man who was working behind the counter in this bodega, I guess is what they called him back there. And he's back there, and what happens is a man comes around from behind the counter, confronts him, shoves him down on the floor, basically, or down into a chair, and is standing over him, screaming at him. And the assailant, I guess, grabs this clerk by the shoulders, drags him up, and is dragging him out from behind the counter. And the clerk grabs a knife that he had behind the counter, stabs the guy to defend himself, and ends up killing him. And they do that, and the clerk is charged with murder for this. So it's interesting. If you take a look at what went on, the man, the clerk, they said was a 61-year-old man, does not look like a very athletic, active kind of 61-year-old. Looks more like a 71-year-old man. But what started all this apparently is a woman came in there and wanted to buy a bag of chips for her 10-year-old daughter. And she was using an EBT card, which apparently did not have enough money on it to buy a bag of chips. So the clerk turned her away. Her reaction to that was to go home, tell her boyfriend about this, and then it was the boyfriend that came back and assaulted the clerk. So it's interesting because a lot of people that saw this were saying that, no, that was self-defense. The guy was defending himself. Yet the district attorney in New York disagreed and charged the man with murder. And it was interesting. In the beginning, they actually set a really high bail. I want to say it was $1 million, or it was over $1 million.
500.
Was it 500,000? I thought it was higher than that. And there was, I guess, a big public outcry.
Well, they put him in Rikers Island just to.
Well, he did spend a week in Rikers.
Yeah, just to make sure he knew where he was.
And yeah, it's interesting because they said the outcry was from both sides of the aisle, is how they described it. So it was, it was Democrats and Republicans.
And it was the
yelling
Bodega
about this.
Association.
Yes, the Bodega
And they've
Association
been around,
as well.
I had no idea, like 60, 70 years.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at John's analysis, and I guess John had posted, got a lot of negative feedback. A lot of people disagree with John. But what he was saying was, okay, this was the clerk, ended up using deadly force to defend himself. And, something we teach with students with deadly force is you can only offer the level of force that's being offered to you. So if you look at what happens in there, the assailant violently shoving this man down into the chair is not really likely to cause great bodily injury or death. So it doesn't elevate, I guess, or rise to the level of being able to use deadly force as a response. Same thing when when the assailant grabs the clerk, picks him up by the shoulders and is dragging him out. Those two things, if you look at them individually, I guess don't really warrant deadly force as a response. What I would look at, though, is something we tell students when we talk about the concealed carry, is you have to look at, in self-defense things, you look at the totality of the circumstances, basically, the whole big picture. And yes, those two actions by themselves probably don't warrant a deadly force type response. But if you think about, from the clerk's position, okay, he's just been assaulted by a much younger, much stronger man. He's being dragged out from behind the counter. It's reasonable for this clerk to assume
and turn the volume up to hear what this guy's screaming at him. Well,
and that's the other thing too. The guy is yelling at him the whole time.
Right.
And it's reasonable, you would think, for the clerk to assume that, okay, I'm being dragged out of here for this assault to continue. The clerk may have been thinking, okay, I've got access to this knife back here. If I get dragged out away from the knife, I'll have no weapon, and there's no way I'm going to be able to fight this much stronger, much younger person. So, looking at the totality of it, there may be a reasonable self-defense argument there. It'll be interesting to see, because as far as I know, this clerk is not a famous movie star, so this will probably go through the courts, and we'll probably get to hear what the jury has to say about this. But I thought it was a very interesting case to talk about.
And the girlfriend stabbed
That was the other thing that was going on, too. Again, the totality of the circumstances. So
there's more than one person attacking this gentleman.
Once this fight started, yes, once he started stabbing his assailant, apparently the girlfriend pulled out a knife and stabbed him at least once in the arm.
The shoulder.
What they said? Well, they said shoulder. If you look at the video, he's looking at a cut on his arm. So he was, again, attacked by a second person, too. So it'll be interesting to see how that argument goes in terms of self-defense. With that, did you? Oh,
that's crazy. The whole situation is crazy, and I think that get pepper spray. Everybody get pepper spray. Don't think of it's not one or the other. I'm going to carry a gun or pepper spray.
Yeah, and I think John points that out in his analysis too. That would have been the perfect opportunity for the use of pepper spray. Yeah. And in New York, actually, in New York City, for some reason, pepper spray is not banned. It's heavily restricted, but the average person can buy pepper spray. You just have to go through a registration kind of process. You have to buy it from somebody that's authorized to sell it, and they make you go through a bunch of hoops.
The other thing is,
but you can get it.
I can't believe, what is going on that somebody attacked this guy from, for that. You didn't have enough money to buy some potato chips. This guy wouldn't give you potato chips, so you go behind and physically assault this guy. Something is, we don't have, I don't think either, and none of us have the degree to truly analyze what the heck's going on, and we don't have the enough time to really cover it. But oh my gosh!
Well, and I mentioned that in the article too. As tragic as this is, it's indicative of what's happening across the country in cities with the increase in violent crime.
And there's no consequence.
Well, no, but if you look at what happened, this woman, was turned down because her EBT card didn't have enough funds for a bag of chips. Her reaction to that is to go home, get her boyfriend, send the boyfriend back to beat up the clerk.
Yeah.
Great example, great modeling for the 10-year-old girl. And that's what's contributing to this stuff.
It's really, truly sad. Let's go.
Candidate for San Diego County Board of Supervisors, District 1, Alex Galicia, is up next.
But first, did you know we have a world-class flight training school right here in San Diego? Pilots can fly almost every single day. We're close to the ocean, the desert, the mountains, international border, and a major military base. That's why San Diego is one of the best places to learn how to fly in the world. Learn to fly in sunny San Diego, right at Montgomery Field. You can get started easy. Give them a call at 858-569-1822. Learn to fly with SDFTI, or give them a call at 858-569-1822.
Alex Galicia is a San Diego County Gun Owners member, and he is running for office. You may have seen him at our South County meetings. He was a regular even before he started running for office, and we're happy to have him on to talk about how things are going in the campaign and how the campaign season treated him. And how you doing, Alex?
Fine, thank you. I appreciate being invited to speak with you.
Yes, sir. So how is everything? Tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing.
So I'm running for the state Senate seat in District 18, which is...
Oops. We said supervisor. Our bad. It's state Senate. I knew something was wrong
State
there.
Senate.
So you're running for state Senate District
18, which is South Bay. Well, it goes all the way up into the Imperial Valley up to Needles. But effectively, 80% of the population lives south of California 54. And it kind of follows 54, then the 8, all the way east. And it shoots up along Highway 86 toward Indio, then towards Needles and down the Arizona border and back along the Mexican-California border. But, I'm in Chula Vista. I would say within a 5-mile radius of where I live, it's probably most of the population that lives in the district. It's the old District 40, which is currently Ben Weasel is the state senator who's termed out. So I am running against Steve Padilla, who is my city council member here in Chula Vista.
Yeah, and that opened up the isn't Padilla the mayor of Chula Vista?
No, he's a city council member. He is a former mayor back about 20 years ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So that's good. We hope it's good to not have him on the city council anymore. He's really bad news. We definitely don't want him up in Sacramento. So what was the catalyst? What made you want to run?
Well, I already had a lot of concerns with Mr. Padilla. I'm involved in my local HOA on safety issues, and there was an issue here. We needed a stop sign at a 3-way sign, and I was trying to reach out to him, and he just wouldn't return calls. And I finally ended up having to reach out to 2 other council members, both of whom returned calls within 24 hours. And so I kind of got interested, like, why wouldn't you return this type of phone call, Mr. Padilla? And so now, looking at the city council minutes, anybody that really looks at what he's doing, he's no news. He doesn't show up to work. The guy wins elections because he's got a name and he's got a lot of contributions. He owes a lot of favors, needless to say. He's got about $400,000 in political money. And basically, he's never done anything but been appointed or elected to office. His last election, he beat a newcomer, Henry Martinez, a friend of mine. But before that, John McCann beat him by 2 votes. I mean, if he has a viable candidate running against him, even Democrats have a lot of concerns about him. He's your epitome of a career do-nothing politician.
Well, back when he was mayor, remember there was like this big controversial thing where he was paying a driver/security guard who
boyfriend,
who he was in a relationship with. It was totally unethical. He got into some. It was pretty bad, and I couldn't believe he got reelected to the city council. I don't care if he's in a relationship with a guy, whatever. But the idea that tax money was going to this kind of this ridiculous suggestion that this guy was, that he had a driver and a security guard when really it was just he was paying, tax money to somebody that he was in a relationship with. It was unbelievably unethical.
Yeah, the whole thing came out of the fact that he mismanaged city funds. He left the city in big financial trouble. It should be no surprise that he himself has apparently gone through the whole bankruptcy process. So here's somebody who is unethical, in my opinion. When you hire a personal relation, whether it's, sibling or son, daughter, boyfriend, girlfriend, paying them $10,000 a month at a time when the city is in trouble, and traveling around the world. I think there was a couple international trips involved there, and that definitely, at the time, the voters of Chula Vista noticed it, and he was a one-term mayor, and he disappeared for a few years. But, he counted on the fact that people have a short-term memory, and he came back. He tried once in 2014, he lost, but he managed to get back in 2018. And, it was 2020. And he almost like a month before he was even elected into office, he'd already decided he was going to run for this office. When you look at his site and the announcements he has on Facebook, the guy never really planned on sitting in the city council seat till the end of the term. And again, when I started looking into that, and there's a number of other things that I don't like he's done. He's not very pro small business. He owes a lot of money to the unions. The unions have given him a lot of money, so he owes them a lot of favors. There's the Chula Vista Bayfront's going to require union participation by any contractor in the name of local jobs. I'll use myself as an example. I own a business, literally. I'm a contractor right across the street from the entrance to what's going to be the Chula Vista Bayfront. Almost all my employees live within, say, 3 to 4 miles, but none of them are going to be able to work on the project because we're not local, meaning we're not members of the local. San Diego simply does not have enough plumbers to do that job. So in the name of local jobs, they're going to end up importing workers from L.A., from Orange County, other areas.
Now, here's what I like. Alex, here's what I really like about your whole story. Number one, I like you because you're a really good dude. But number two, you're a San Diego County Gun Owners member who decided to run for office. You didn't join San Diego County Gun Owners because you were running for office, which is fine. But I like the fact that you were already somebody that's engaged in the Second Amendment. You're already interested in the organization, and one of the ways that you're looking to help your community is to run for office. I think that's really, really great. I like the fact that you're a business owner. I like the fact that you have a story. There was a real, true catalyst. Hey, I was trying to get something done, and it wasn't getting done, and so I decided to fix the entire situation by running against the person that was mucking it all up, in this case, Steve Padilla. I think that's a great story. I think that every piece of that is exactly what we need more of and what we're looking for in San Diego County. And I thank you so much for stepping up and running. I think that's fantastic. What can we do? What's the best thing we can do to help? What can people that are listening, people that are members of San Diego County Gun Owners, how do they help you?
Right now, the number one way is help me get my name out. And I'm following a little bit of the playbook of a guy out in New Jersey who I think he had like a $300 budget, meaning he owed no favors, but he used a social media campaign. And he didn't win, but he came very, very close to unseating a career politician, I think like by 1%. So if somebody would really be able to help me, especially if they know people in my area, friend me on Facebook. Or look for Alejandro Galicia for State Senate 2022. If you friend me on Facebook, Alex Galicia, I will invite you to join the group. Once you're in my Facebook group for my campaign, please invite other friends of yours, especially those that may fall in the district. I think that I would like to follow as many free options in getting my name out. If I win this election, I don't want to owe any favors if I have to. I want to be able to vote my conscience, and I want to be able to vote for my community, not for the union or for this big corporation or anything like that. I do believe in the Second Amendment. I'm very patriotic. I'm a veteran, Army and Navy, served in Iraq. I think I'm the kind of person that really wants to represent the community as I've represented my country. I served honorably overseas. My greatest accomplishment is that I went over there. I was a platoon leader. I went into Iraq with 158 soldiers in the company. I eventually became company commander. I came back with 158 soldiers. To me, that is the proudest moment of my life, 100% soldier accountability upon return from a combat zone.
Congratulations. How did you tell the story about how you served in two branches?
I graduated from Montgomery High School here in South Bay in 1985, enlisted in the U.S. Navy. I served an enlistment term. I was a hospital corpsman. Got out, went to college, helped pay my college by doing that. At that time, I swear to God I would never join the military again. But, your view softens over time. I did come out with an honorable discharge, but I was a junior enlisted man, which means I was at the bottom of the barrel for everything. All the midnight shifts, getting no sleep, standing foul weather watches on deck, getting wet, everything that comes with being a junior member of our military. But after college, I thought, I could do this again. But I joined on a part-time basis. I enlisted in the Army National Guard. I went through the officer candidate school. I became a lieutenant, and I ended up retiring 20 years later as a major. Funny thing was, I had more overseas deployments as a reservist than I did as an active duty member. From 1985 to 1989, my time in the military, there was not a lot of fighting going on. I came back in 1997. It was quiet till 2001, and they say 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. Well, after 9/11, it was the longest 2 weeks of my life. But I am proud to have served almost continuous active duty till 2008. Went around the world and filled in where I had to.
Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate all your support for San Diego County Gun Owners. Appreciate you being a member and coming and talking to the meetings. Always a pleasure. True gentleman, and I really, truly, let's help Alex get elected. What's your website again?
Well, the website's going to be alexgalicia.com, but right now I'm running it primarily through LinkedIn or Facebook. So if you friend me either Facebook or LinkedIn at Alex Galicia, Galicia, I will then invite you to join my my elections group, and that's where I would really, really, I don't need money right now. I need my name to go out into the public, and people know that I'm running against Steve Padilla. He's a formidable opponent, not because he's good, but because he's known. He's a household brand down here, and he's got a lot of money. He can send out mailers. He can do a lot of things that I will not be able to respond to.
All right.
I think most people down here will support me if they find out.
All right, Alex. Thank you very much for going to.
So on the line is Steve Voss, mayor of Poway. We're going to talk about his new program in Poway.
But first, PRMI Mortgage, primeres.com/Alpine. Hey, if you're looking to buy, refi, or if you're considering a reverse mortgage, call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. They make it easy. Work with a friendly expert team that will help you get the best deal on mortgages. Call Chris Wiley at 619-722-1303 or just go to primeres.com/Alpine.
So Mayor Steve Voss from Poway came up with a really cool program that I really want. I hope takes hold. I think it'll do some good. They say see something, say something, and they talk about. We even talk about all the various warning signs that have happened with some of these mass killers that make the headlines. And Steve's doing something really cool about it. So I wanted to have him come on and talk about it. Mayor, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing really well.
How's it going?
It's going great. Going great. Gorgeous day. Nice weekend. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend too.
Good. Well, Mayor, I really, really appreciate. Why don't we just go right into you? Tell them what I'm referencing.
Well, you pretty much covered it. It's pretty simple. There are typically a large number of warning signs, up to 90%. Some studies say of perpetrators communicate their intentions to others before they undertake mass violence. You look at the guy in Uvalde, Texas. The shooter repeatedly threatened teenage girls on social media, got into fights, cut his own face with a knife, bragged about buying a gun. Somebody asked him, "You going to shoot up a school or something?" But nobody said anything, which is tragic. According to the FBI, those that are most likely to notice those kind of behaviors are family, friends, and classmates, but generally they don't mention the behavior to anyone. And I wanted to close that gap. And so we created the Poway Alert Line. The
Poway Alert Line. So it's a number people call?
It's a number that people call. 4 years ago, I created the Poway Unified School District tip line that the city does for the schools in conjunction with the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department, allowing students, parents, community members to report individuals or incidents that, they're concerned might jeopardize school safety. And it has been invaluable in, helping to head off potential problems. So I thought, we can do the same thing for the city of Poway. Have a line that people can call if they're concerned that someone they know represents a danger to themselves or others or might be thinking about a mass violence event. They can call us anonymously if they want, and it goes instantly to the Sheriff's Department, and then they can handle it.
That's awesome. So there's a little bit of analysis on the other end of the line. They call up and describe the situation, and then the person on the other side of the phone, is it a 911 operator, or who are they talking to exactly?
No, actually. We run it through a system, you've probably heard their ads on the radio, called Grasshopper, where the people leave a recorded message, and as soon as they hang up, that recorded message, they can go on as long as they want, instantly goes to 14 different Sheriff's Department Poway team. It also goes to city leadership so that immediately that can be analyzed and determined if it's actionable intelligence or if there's something we can do to help the person on the other end of the line.
Every time there's one of these tragedies, Mayor, I get a bunch of phone calls from local media, and they always want me to explain the entire situation and then, defend the idea that I still think that we should have, civil rights is really what it boils down to. And I always say, hey, look, there were tons of warning signs. There were tons of warning signs. No one did anything. That doesn't mean something's wrong with my Second Amendment. And when I read about this and when I heard you talk about it, I said, yeah, this is exactly what we need. And it's not. I don't think it's the fault of anybody. We get very frustrated with friends and family who surrounded some of these folks. I think that it's tough. It's tough to tell, like, hey, I don't want to call 911. It's not an emergency, and there really aren't.
Boy, you hit it right on the head, because before I took this to City Council, I did a very unscientific survey, and I asked friends and residents if you had concerns that somebody represents a danger to themselves or might be planning an act of violence, who would you call?
Yeah, there's no path.
The answer was invariably, well, gosh, I wouldn't call 911. I don't know who I'd call. So that's where we felt we had an opportunity to bridge that gap. And, we're advertising it heavily. I would love to see other cities follow in our footsteps here, or the county follow in our footsteps. Get this, the whole program, we're doing a 6-month trial. The cost of it, $197.
That's enormous. Where did you find that kind of funding, Mayor? That's
You didn't know he sings?
Doing something on the cheap.
Yeah, you didn't know he sings?
I'm well aware. He's
on the curb more than I know.
He's out with a sign. Need $197. Yeah,
and his guitar.
Well, Mayor, I think that's awesome. I mean, is it fairly easy to? So let's say.
What's the number?
Well, yeah, what is the number?
Remember, it's for Poway. 855-56 alert.
56 alert. So let's say, another city says, yeah, we want to do this, or even the county says, hey, yeah, this is something we want to do. Is that something they could help you with? I mean, was it a tough implementation, or was it fairly easy to switch on?
No, it took 10 minutes. I recorded the message that people hear when they call that number, and it literally less than an hour to set it up and have it operational.
The other cool thing is about that, and I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you call 911, for the wrong thing, you could easily run afoul of the law. If it's not an emergency and they determine that, hey, you know what, you're screwing around here. Maybe not that easily, but with this, there aren't really those consequences, those negative ramifications. Maybe, if you call and say, hey, here's what's going on, and they go, nah, that's not exactly what this is for, or whatever. I guess what I'm saying is, if you call this number, you can't really go wrong. You're not going to keep police from rescuing somebody, or you're not going to abuse the system. I mean, it's meant for you to just give information and then let somebody else analyze and figure out what the best thing to do is, right?
Exactly. If you've got a legit, clear and present danger emergency, call 911 by all means. If in doubt, call 911. But if you've got, you see the guy down the street and, some animals in the neighborhood are turning up dead or something, or, this kid in Uvalde, Texas, he was carrying around dead cats in a bag for weeks before the tragedy there. So if you see something like that and you live in Poway, call 855-56-ALERT. Now, to your point about, is it going to get weird if you report something wrong? No. I mean, we had a lady call in the other night, God bless her, and she said, somebody gave me this number. I don't know if it's the right number, but there's a baby possum in our neighborhood, and it's wandering around and it's hurt. we were able to point her in the right direction.
Now, what happened with that possum, Mayor? Did everything turn out okay?
As far as I know, that possum is happy and out in the wild again.
Look at that! Already doing good things. In all seriousness, fantastic job, great idea. Our organization, we've been very critical of the gun violence restraining orders, and I think that this is a very reasonable system.
Fix.
Well, it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with gun violence restraining orders. It's an alternative, I would say.
Tool.
It's a better tool. It's a far more reasonable, response or a preventative measure. And I think it's a great idea. I'm so glad. Was anybody against it, or was it pretty much,
No. How can you be against it? Where you just take the statistics, and in almost all of these tragedies, people have noticed the problems in advance, but they didn't say anything. How many lives could we have saved if there was an alert system in some of those other cities? Sure. Frankly, I think this idea should be nationwide, but I'd settle for the county.
Your survey tells it all, because what you did is you gave the community a direct line without trying to wonder if their call's 911 worthy. It's like call this number before you dig. Call this number, if you have a loose animal in your yard. You actually gave them a number to use for their problem. I think that's smart.
So
we're optimistic that it can give us an extra layer of safety here.
So mental health concerns, criminal concerns that that aren't emergencies, just any kind of
something that looks weird.
Yeah, the hair on the back of my neck standing up when I see that, or gosh, I got this feeling in my gut and it just doesn't seem right. Let me at least get this information to some folks. We're not violating anybody's rights. We're not, taking anything away from anybody. We're just kind of going, hey, you know what? This feels a little weird. Let's see if we can, possibly get to the bottom. I think it's a great idea, Mayor.
The key word is concern. If you are concerned that someone may be planning an act of violence or could be a danger to themselves or others, that concern, call, and then let us figure it out. Let us see if there's something that
you'll make that decision. You'll make that decision.
Well, the experts will. I certainly won't.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor. Anything else you want folks to know?
Nah, spread the word about this. Let's get other cities on board.
Let's do it.
All right, my friend. What's the number one more time for anybody in Poway? What number should they call if they have a concern?
855-56-ALERT.
Perfect. Thanks, buddy. Well, do you feel safe? Are you protected? It's time to take ownership on your self-defense journey. And the U.S. Concealed Carry Association believes the key ingredient is being responsibly firearms owner and is properly trained and educated. So USCCA offers comprehensive training that helps you avoid danger while keeping you and your loved ones safe. More than 650,000 responsibly armed Americans like you have made the responsibility decision to take control of protecting themselves and their families. Get hands-on training from a certified instructor. You might even get Joe. And you can learn how to avoid danger, defend yourself, and protect your loved ones. Take responsibility for your own safety and visit uscca.com/GOR.
All right, it's time for everybody's favorite segment, Stump My Nephew. Sam, the gunman, is my nephew. He's 22 years old. And every week we ask him a question that we get from a listener. If you have a gun trivia question, email it to us. If we read it on the air, if we ask Sam your question, then we will give you a hat or a shirt. If you stump my nephew, then we'll give you a super special prize. So, rarely is he stumped, but every once in a while he is. He's been doing. How many years have you been doing this now, Sam?
I don't know. Roughly 3 or so, 4 maybe.
I think that's right. I think you were 19 when you started. Now you're 22. That's somewhere. If I'm doing my math right, that's 3 years.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Are you ready for this week's question?
I hope so.
This week's question, which, by the way, someone you know had a hand in this week's question. I want you to know.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So, but it was actually officially submitted by Bill P. from Minocqua, Wisconsin. And his question is, what nautical equipment led Sam Colt to the invention of a reliable multiple-shot revolver?
Bill P. from Minocqua, Wisconsin. Thanks for writing in.
That's a real place, by the way, Minocqua, Wisconsin.
Yeah, for those of you listening, the upper Midwest and parts of upstate New York have a lot of Native American place names. Minocqua is one of them. What nautical device led to Samuel Colt's creation and patenting of the first reliable multiple-shot revolver?
Yeah, what nautical equipment led Sam Colt to the invention of the reliable multi-shot revolver?
That's a tough one. I want to say there are a few possible answers here. I know I read this somewhere, but I forgot what it was. It's frustrating. It's really on the tip of my tongue. Part of me wants to say the block and tackle or some part of the steering gear of the ship, but I think what I'm going to go with is the steering wheel itself.
It says you might. I don't know.
You were really close.
I don't know if I'm smart enough here, but the answer is the capstan or windlass, which has a ratchet and pawl mechanism, is used on ships to assist in handling ropes or lines by assisting those pulling the line. If a line is wrapped around a capstan and pulled tight, the capstan will not allow it to be pulled backwards. However, the capstan will rotate and allow the line to be pulled forward. The capstan itself is not powered. This was in the 1820s and 1830s. The guy who sent this in, Bill P., was actually inspired by your grandfather to send this in. He wrote a book on Colt revolvers and is a legitimate expert. And apparently, I guess the connection there is you said you thought you'd read it somewhere. Your grandfather actually gave you that book, and you read it. You read it in that book years ago. So that's why it sounded. It's right on the tip of your tongue. Your grand.
I should have gone with my first guess because it has something to do with the block and tackle. That's a good question, fun question, tough one, obviously, because I didn't really get it. But that's a neat piece of trivia. If you'll pardon the pun, that's a little bit outside my wheelhouse.
Well, your grandpop and I spent a little bit of time on the phone evaluating on whether or not I thought, well, if he's read it in the book, I mean, this guy's such a sponge. If he's read it in the book, I think he's going to get it. And your grandpop said, well, it's a pretty hard question. We spent some time trying to figure it out, but it was a good question. It's a very good question. And Bill in Minocqua, we're going to get you a hat or a shirt, and we'll have to figure out a really special prize for somebody in Minocqua.
You have a conspiracy in your family?
It's not me. This is his grandfather. My dad is out for blood with these questions.
That's what I said. Poor kid living a life in a gun store.
You can almost always tell the questions that he's sent in have always been Navy related.
Well, and not only that, Sam, did you not correct us one time and said you were not really into the armament of back in the 15, 16, and 1700s necessarily?
This is a little bit later than that. So I mean, obviously, I should brush up on everything. It
obviously
behooves me to know something about every period of firearms.
Gotcha.
But those of you in the listening audience will know that my weak points are basically anything before the advent of fixed ammunition, like individual cartridges. And I have weaknesses in pop culture and certain more niche areas like naval armaments.
Although last week you had a question that was both pop culture and naval armament when we asked you the question about the what was it, the plasma rifle from the that the Marines used in Alien, right?
Yeah.
In Aliens, that
Aliens
stuff I just pick up through cultural osmosis, and it's like, well, I wish I hadn't learned that because it's taking up space, but sometimes it's useful, I guess.
Hey, so did you have an opportunity to read the decision yet, the Bruen decision yet?
No, I have not read the complete decision, but the synopses that I've looked at and from just skimming through it seems pretty interesting. I'm not sure this is something that, in my opinion, should have been decided in the courts. Like a lot of things, I think Congress had a responsibility to legislate this beforehand, so it didn't have to become a court case, but it is an interesting decision.
So here in, behind enemy lines in California, everybody's really excited about it, and we think it's going to, change our world because we have so many different laws. We have a pistol ban, a rifle ban. We had a CCW, practically a ban on CCWs. This is going to change our world. In Virginia, what is the general feedback? Like you work at a gun shop, you got people coming in and you work with people in the industry. Has there been a lot of talk? Are people as excited in a little bit more of a free state?
People have been talking about it. A couple of my coworkers are pretty pleased about that, and I have coworkers and we have regulars at the shop who come from states like a lot of them come from New York. Some Marines will frequent our shop who've just been PCS'd from California, and so they're pretty excited about these developments that seem to make concealed carry laws more liberal in that this decision appears to strike down may issue and enforce shall issue as the law of the land. But the thing is, and this is kind of a long-running gripe of mine, that in Virginia, because we have relatively lax gun laws as compared to states like California and some states in the Northeast, people really aren't united as a solid front behind pro-Second Amendment causes because we don't typically have a lot of stuff to fight for on the state level. Out in California, you guys are all really united, and I'd like to offer my congratulations to everyone who goes to SDCGO meetings or is a member of one of the affiliate organizations, because you guys are all doing something we can't seem to accomplish out here in Virginia, and all getting together to fight for your rights at the state level. We have VCDL in Virginia, but it's not really the same thing.
Interesting.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, Sam. What is there in Virginia that's kind of an anti-gun thing that people might be happy about here that this could help with? I mean, in California, there's a million things hopefully that this will help with. What's the big deal in Virginia, or is there one?
People don't have a lot of an axe to grind in Virginia right now. Back in 2019, January or so, some of you might remember, like 2019 going into January 2020 because of our legislative sessions, some of you might remember seeing on the national news that Virginia had an incoming group of state legislators who tried to pass a whole slate of anti-gun laws, and that most of those were defeated. Some of them passed, but we did not end up getting some of the worst stuff like an assault weapons ban, though some of it came pretty close, honestly.
Well, that's cool, man. What are people – so one of the things we've been talking about, because we have our pistol ban, our unsafe handgun roster or whatever it's called, we've been talking about how we really only have a few options. What's the one or two most popular carry guns in Virginia right now? If people are coming in buying a carry gun, what's the one and two most popular that you've seen?
Well, I'll give you kind of two answers, a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is people like the latest and greatest, like everything they see on, I don't know, Instagram or YouTube or whatever, that seems to be popular online. People like the Springfield Hellcat, the Sig Sauer P365, and that whole family, and to some extent the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus, because they're tiny and they hold a lot of rounds, and big number mean better, right?
Yes.
But the long answer is I was talking about this with a customer earlier today. It's kind of funny how there's been this trend going back and forth throughout the past 10 or 20 years about concealed carry pistols. You start with the popularity of something like the M&P Compact or the Glock 19 or something in that class, and people go, okay, well, this is great, but I want something smaller. So the manufacturers started coming out with the Shield, the Glock 43, little tiny guns like that, the Springfield XDS. And then people went, okay, these are easier to carry, but we want more rounds.
Hey, Sam.
That's perfect. That's perfect, Sam. Okay, so Hellcat and SIG 365, we actually got to wrap it up.
Otherwise,
awesome job, though. Thank you so much. Sorry you got stumped.
Yeah.
But Bill P., your next phone call should be to your grandpop, asking him why he takes such pleasure in watching you get stumped. And then Bill P., I'm going to make sure to get you whatever you want for a prize. Thank you so much, Bill, for submitting.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks. Good night.
All right, folks. Hey, subscribe to our show. Give us a 5-star review. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and support all our great sponsors: San Diego County gun owners, Inland Empire gun owners, Orange County gun owners, the Dillon Law Group, PRMI Mortgage, Sage Street Digital Marketing, Seal One, Leo Hamill Fine Jewels, San Diego Flight Training International, and our newest partner, U.S. Concealed Carry Association. Big thanks to Michael Schwartz, Joe Germisi, Sam the Gunman, and our buddy Noah in the house.
Always glad to be here, Dave.
You're the best, brother. Folks, be safe. Bob Siegel's in the house. Don't touch that dial.